Like I said, you have to educate these clients. So it's not usually we are just able to sit down even in a 2-hour meeting and be like, okay, we fully educated you guys. You fully understand what's going on here. Like, let's sign this contract right now.
Yeah, because POD is very new, especially to a lot of nonprofits. It's like they don't know anything about it. So just educating them takes time.
I put this in all caps because this is something that came up again this week. And it's the fact that you are not competing with screen printing. This was something that came up multiple times with those people who actually went out and tried this. And they were like, man, I was all excited to help this organization. But they were like, they already have this like slamming screen printing deal. And they weren't able to get past the point that we have to charge, sometimes $12 for just a t-shirt. Like that was completely a no-go for them, and red flags were getting thrown. But it was like, I think it's just the way you present the opportunity. Know that you are not competing with screen printing. You have other benefits and you can work in conjunction with screen printing. So I think once you can explain that, and I have to educate some of the clients that you're going out and talking to about how print on demand is different. You're using DTG machines. You're able to have little to no upfront cost, and especially no cost for the products upfront. You can kind of get to how they can use that as a fundraiser for their organization. And you're not just trying to take business away from the local screen printers, because those are heavily guarded relationships, because most nonprofits and churches and things are printing a ton of shirts, so they love their local screen printer who probably digs them out of a hole and they're like, we have an event in 2 days and we did all these shirts. So you're not trying to encroach on that relationship at all. You're trying to add to that, bring different opportunities to their organization for them to monetize what they're doing. And just, again, put that in full caps. So you're not competing with screen printers.
If you're going into those businesses and they're constantly saying, hey, all we do is screen printing, that's all we're worried about, just have a conversation with them. You might not be able to close that first deal the first time you talk to them. You don't want to get married necessarily on the first date anyway, because it could lead to other problems. But the more community conversations you have with them and then build up that trust with them, there's going to be a pain point where they go, oh, I can't stand when this, or I can't believe we have leftover shirts, or whatever the case may be. That's where you can go and say, hey, is there an opportunity here that I can help you with this? I think that's really what helped Nathaniel close that first deal, was just talking to his old coach and saying, oh, you really don't like to deal with the parents? Here's an opportunity where you can put the ordering on them. That wasn't really the deal that he went in there and tried to set up in the beginning. He just listened, saw the opportunity, was like, oh, okay, this seems like the opportunity. And I don't remember if you went and talked to him once and then you structured the deal right there, but I'm pretty sure it was over time that you did it. But most of our deals don't get signed contracts the first time we meet them. It's a conversation. Then we say, okay, we got to come back to you. Here's some quotes. Here's some examples. Here's some products. Here's what we can do. This is what we think works best. What do you think? It's just an ongoing conversation to find the win-win, to figure out how to work with these clients.
Yeah, like I said, you have to educate these clients. So it's not usually we are just able to sit down even in a 2-hour meeting and be like, okay, we fully educated you guys. You fully understand what's going on here. Like, let's sign this contract right now.
Yeah, because POD is very new, especially to a lot of nonprofits. It's like they don't know anything about it. So just educating them takes time.
Yeah, so the education, but also like kind of the verbiage that you're using, because we've seen it in people's eyes when we go in, especially when I first started, and I'd be like, okay, do you guys have a screen printer? And then they just like gloss over from that point forward, because they're like, yes, we have a screen printer. Like, no, we don't want to hear your sales pitch about how you're going to do better screen printing or get us better apparel or whatever. And that's why I said that word fundraiser is a magical word, because a lot of, at least churches, because I've done a lot of church fundraisers, are not like the greatest thing in the world to do. So it's like most fundraisers are like you're doing a garage sale or a car wash or something that involves a lot of time and energy and physical labor from parents to like get their kids to actually do this thing. So when we say we have a fundraiser idea, we just like to talk to you about it. That's a much easier conversation than going in the front door and like, hey, we want to help you sell shirts, which is literally something I've done before. And I highly suggest not to do that, because it's just an uphill battle from that point. If you're trying to educate them and you're saying, I want to help you sell t-shirts, like they can't really make the connection. It's hard to do. But if you're saying, hey, I want to present this fundraising idea to you guys, then they're a lot more keen to listening into what exactly that means. And then you can explain things like print on demand. When I go, oh, why can't we just use our screen printer to do this? Like, you can, but it involves all these extra steps that we can cut out, and we can do this literally tomorrow whenever we want to switch the flip the switch. So just that verbiage that you use is super important. So that's why I'm kind of hammering this point home and kind of honing on this point for a little bit longer is just because that verbiage that you're using is so crucial. Even from the moment you step through that door, if you say the wrong thing, you can send them down this path, or they can just see you as another like sales call or cold call or salesman walking in their front door that they just don't have the time to deal with. So saying, hey, I want to present a fundraiser idea to you guys, see if we can make it work for your organization, that usually puts them in the seat of trying to learn or understand what you have going on, rather than just completely trying to give you a very nice way to please leave now. So you are not competing with screen printing. But
we had a few questions about like the price points
Okay.
and specific examples. I feel like you gave a few examples there, but price point is something that I think especially you ran into in the beginning when you were trying to work with a lot of these companies. But I think that's when you just started having more conversations and found out where is that pain point. When you helped that very first coach, the price point was a little higher, but then it wasn't on him. It was just on the parents. And beyond just t-shirts, you opened up a whole new line that they were extremely happy about and very willing to pay a lot more for those products. And some of those other products that they were buying had a lot more of a price point for us and for the coach than the t-shirts were offering in the beginning. The t-shirts were almost a way to just like, everybody kind of needs a uniform. This is the uniform that we're using, but parents wanted to buy more and support their kids more. It's the same thing for churches and other nonprofits. T-shirts are very limiting, or just screen printing, I guess, is very limiting. POD opens up a lot of product opportunity. Daniel touched on a little bit about the platforms and different opportunities there. And some of the nonprofits that we go into, we talked about last week, is we juice the listing. If we can use your 100 to 200 followers to buy one of these shirts, we can really get this on page one and then get a lot more sales from Amazon. It's just, there are different opportunities. If price point is the thing that you're constantly coming up against, just figure out what are they doing the shirts, what are they using the shirts for, then work with them to find a better solution. It's not, print on demand is not always the best answer. Same thing with screen printing is not always the best answer. Most times when larger companies are doing screen printing, the price is far drastically less because of the quantity that they're ordering. But if you talk to any of those people, they more than likely have a ton of shirts left over, and that's a huge pain point. The person that we talked to down here in Florida, where his father was the largest screen printer in Florida, and the shipping, like logistics, everything was fine. It was the leftover shirts that were driving them crazy, because they would do shirts like crazy because that was his connect. Then they'd have a ton of shirts left over, and then they try to give them away. It was just like a constant problem that they had to deal with. As soon as we could take that off their plate, they were all in on what we had to do, even though we were never going to meet his price point that he could get with his father. It was beyond us, but it just gave them another opportunity to say, okay, we can do half here, and we can reach more with this. And oh, when we go to this event and we have to get them flown in and do all the logistics, we can just have that be on the clientele that we're working with, and then they can get it ordered for their specific event, their sizing, if they want different products. That was another thing, is like, oh, they don't just have to do shirts or tank tops. They can do books. They can do a lot of other products. So the pricing, if you're going in and just going pricing for pricing, it's going to be a hard battle. But if you show the opportunities that POD offers versus screen printers, that's when you can start having more conversations. But again, it's not we're going to tell you this is how you deal with price, and this is the only way that you deal with price. It's just going in and having a conversation with them, see what their needs are. And most of the time, that's not just a one-off conversation. Just go in there and say, okay, why is it that you like screen printing? Okay, the price. How many shirts are you actually getting? How many shirts do you actually have coming back? How many shirts do you have in the back? Is it ever a problem? It's just, I think the more of those conversations you have, you can navigate those conversations. I don't know, Nathaniel, was there a point where you were like, oh, I've had X amount of conversations, now I know how to handle this conversation? I think it's changing all the time anyway, but you just know that, oh, price is not really a factor for us anymore. We've gone through this so many times. We put in the reps to talk to these people where it's like we're just steering in a different direction and going, okay, well, here are other things that we can offer. The plethora of products is normally a big selling point for them to use print on demand.
I think rather than like putting in the reps, and I've walked through this many doors and had this many conversations, it's usually like when something blows up in my face that I learned that lesson, where it's like, oh, okay, like I should just never mention that I'm trying to help them sell shirts, because one, that's not really a benefit that I want to talk about, and two, it puts them in this frame of mind where they're just not paying attention past that point. Like even my own church that I grew up in, that's the way that I presented the idea to them, and I was like, oh yeah, I can help you guys sell shirts, and like we have zero interest in doing that. But once I came back to them and said fundraiser, they were like, oh yeah, this makes a lot more sense now. So it's those conversations that I'm having where like you just see it in the middle of a conversation, someone's eyes gloss over and you're like, okay, I've lost their interest, and I've lost the ability to try to educate them, to get them back on my side. It's just those like kind of painful conversations that you have, some relationships that you're like, I kind of blew that, but you get to go back with a new way of presenting it, or just go on to the next organization and trying to help them, just reframing some of the words. So it is definitely, it helps just to get out there and kind of get your feet wet, which all of the respect in the world to the people who heard me last week and went out there and tried this. And some of them are already having success with it and already taking checks from doing this type of thing. So it's exciting to see the possibilities there. As far as like price points go for the actual products, those can be all over the place. But for the spiritware, I mean, they were at $25, and that's kind of what I've learned, that people willing to support an organization and get something from said organization are usually willing to pay a little bit higher of a price. So we don't have to just lowball them at $16 for this thing to try to move it. We can usually say like $25 to $30 even for just a regular t-shirt, because they know that their money is going to support this organization. It's no longer just about the t-shirt, but it's what the t-shirt represents, and what that t-shirt represents that they're doing for their community or for that organization. And they can even make it a point, if that organization wants to, like, hey, people who wear this shirt, they get this bonus, or they get to directly impact this part of our organization. So those types of things can really help out. And again, it's all just the communication, thinking outside the box about how you can use print on demand as a fundraiser. It's not just, we want to help you sell shirts. So